Hello everyone, and welcome back to the First In Weasels over Syria campaign for the F-16 and DCS world, and welcome to Mission 11, the SOC. And this is hands down the hardest mission that I've flown on the campaign so far. This took me more attempts than I really want to admit, but I managed there in the end, so we'll see how it went. So, briefing for this one is we were tasked with taking out the sector operations control for the entire Syrian air defense structure around Damascus. This is in build-up to an ultimatum that the coalition has given the Syrian government to stop shelling civilians, otherwise there will be a major reprisal, and this is aimed at disrupting their ability to defend themselves to make that threat of reprisal all the more meaningful. The difficulty here is we have not really eroded the air defense around Damascus itself, and this is the most heavily defended part of Syrian airspace, and so we are tasked to fly into a very active missile engagement zone, take out a target and get out there. We're only going to get one pass at this, and a little bit of added problem is the target is underground, but we have a pair of openings, one being the front entrance, another being the air ventilation, and so we are going to try and drop a pair of 2,000-pound paveway bombs down the ventilation shaft, while my wingman drops a similar pair of 2,000-pound bombs down the front door. For this, we're going to be heavily supported. A whole extra diversionary attack is going in from the east, launching on multiple sites in order to activate the enemy air defense and have them pointing the wrong way. Then at the same time, a whole flight of drones is going in with jammers aimed to confuse the air defense into engaging them instead of us. At the same time, the other two sword flights are going in, and they'll be suppressing whatever is left with a massive volley of harms. Even so, this is going to be a hell of a run that we need to do, with an interesting little caveat that we are entering through Israeli airspace for this mission. The Israelis have given us permission to do this, despite the fact that might well increase tensions. They're getting worried about Hezbollah. And so we're going in on the other side, pretending to be nothing more than a standard patrol, and then nipping in, doing this run, and, well, let's just see how it goes.
Those flankers were loitering back there again, where we usually cross the border. Let's hope they didn't ID us.
Let's hope that rotor would be nice to give the Syrians a surprise for a change.
Copy that, boss.
Sword flight, switch sentinel on uniform.
Sword 3 set.
Sword 2 set.
Sentinel, sword 1-1. Sword flight, airborne and proceeding on mission 1881. Any words?
Negative on word, sword 1. Proceed as spread.
Copy, sentinel. Sword 1 out. Okay, sword flight, continue and switch uniform for vacuum.
Sword 3 set.
Sword 2 set.
Vacuum, sword 1. Request lowdown Damascus.
Copy, sword 1. Stand by. Lay down Damascus. Now let's express the message every time, but confirm message 2, SA3, SA6, SA8, SA10, SA11, and SA15 in pre-brief locations. Foxwing, Torlax, and flat-face UW radars are active around Damascus.
Copy all vacuum, sword 1 out.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
So the intel reports keep bringing up Hezbollah at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like they're busy getting involved. We've got mobilization in the Bekaa Valley and activity along the border between Syria and Lebanon.
Not to mention, drones over Homs Road and Enroute carrying out ISR.
Who would have thought that Hezbollah was running a drone program?
Well, boys, remember your intel brief. Hezbollah may get labeled as terrorists, but they're far more sophisticated than the name suggests. They're often referred to as a state within a state. Got a large paramilitary force, more powerful than the Lebanese army, in fact, as well as a significant presence in Lebanese politics.
Well, they've been well funded over the years.
That they have. Very well funded by both the Iran of old and Syria.
And all for the cause of fighting Israel.
Well, it's probably more nuanced than just that, Rotor, but we take your point.
The current behavior of Hezbollah concerns me, though. If they get fully involved in the civil war, it could have a major impact.
We could have potentially tens of thousands of additional fighters entering each battle. And Hezbollah have a lot of firepower stashed away in Lebanon.
You're right about all of that, Tank, but the bigger picture here is Israel.
How so, boss?
Well, the Israelis might not be so keen on the idea of Hezbollah roaming around the Syrian south, free to push further south than the Unifil line.
And free to attack Israel from a new flank.
Exactly. And it's not like Israel to sit idly by and let that happen.
And Israel has a hell of a military, but Hezbollah sure knows how to make things difficult for them.
That's right. Fought them to stalemate in the '06 war.
I was surprised we used Israeli airspace to launch that attack this morning. I would have thought that there'd be a risk of escalation there.
Yeah, it surprised a lot of people, that one. I guess the benefits outweighed the risk.
Do you think there'll be consequences for Israel?
Maybe, but it's not like they're not already in the crosshairs, is it?
Not sure the Syrians can afford to bring the Israelis into the fight right now anyway. They're already stretched thin. Unless Hezbollah reinforces them.
Or the Russians. Let's not forget about them.
Now there's a thought. Russia and Israel fighting it out. As if there wasn't enough of a mess down here already.
Well then, let's hope it doesn't go down that way.
All swords, push to targets, commence your missions.
Sword 2 pushing.
Sword 3 pushing. Multiple emitters online. Looks like they got their attention.
Both Grumbles are online. Sword 1 is engaging.
So while I was on the way in, I did get a good view of the initial diversionary strike hitting home. And then some views of my supporting aircraft doing their thing.
Sword 1, Magnum, SA-10.
Sword 1-2, Magnum, SA-10.
Approaching the Damascus Mez.
Copy lead. SA-2 and SA-3 off our nose about 20 miles. SA-11 is north of us.
First Grumble has gone dark.
Second Grumble is still active.
Sword 3-1, target the second SA-10.
Copy. Sword 3-1 engaging. Sword 3-1, Magnum, SA-10.
So here I begin my run, turning in towards the IP here. And this is the point that we need to drop down in altitude to hit deck level to try and terrain mask us from most of the SAM sites.
More SAM raiders have shut off. Fourth, Ghost is standing by with our last 2 harms.
Now I do start to get locked by the SA-8. I'm not worried about that. As I said, I repeated this multiple times. And so I know the real threat here is the SA-6 and the SA-11, particularly the SA-11, so I just get that shot at first. As I'm still going down here, we do start to lose some of our drone cover, which means more of the sights will be pointing at me. Turn in here a little bit higher altitude than I would normally do on this run, so quickly start dumping it here. The IP is dead ahead. Unfortunately, so is a fire can battery and an SA-6 site. Do get the nice report there, the SA-11 is downed.
Approaching IP. Proceed with your attack. I'll be right behind you.
Sword 2-2 attacking.
So that's my wingman breaking off. I need to push a little bit further before I do mine. As you can see here, I'm coming up to the defensive battery that have to fly directly over. Bit of an odd route that they've chosen, but fine. Do get locked up, but it's by the fire can radar. Is going to take the ground AAA a little bit of time to turn around and point at me, so we just dip behind the other side of this ridge here. But then as soon as I'm on the other side of the ridge, I begin my turn towards the target. Trying to keep low level, there is a SA-8 batteries on the hill to my left here. And so trying to keep low so they can't quite see me. Hugging the ground. Do as the wingman tells me there, just quickly check that laser and master armor on. I am trying to keep low here. There is a lot of guns in this area. There's my wingman dropping his bomb. And here I decide that I'm going to start my pop-up. As I do, I need to get exact target location. The waypoint is slightly between these two ventilation shafts. Either is fine. As I'm doing, I am dodging, because as you can see here, I am getting flak fire coming up at me. I position the targeting pod over the desired target. As I enter range there, I drop, immediately start lasing, and then turn evasive, kick in my burners, and try to gain altitude here. What repeatedly got me on this is just the AAA around here. If you don't try pulling away, or if you keep going in a straight line too long, it will absolutely destroy you. These are 100mm artillery pieces coming at you, they hurt. But there we go, managed to get a nice direct hit. And so just continue to climb.
Copy, Sword 2, now get clear.
Now at this point I have gotten myself to 20,000 feet, so AAA isn't too much of an issue. Man pads are not an issue. I do continue to climb to 30,000 feet just to make sure I am nice and safe. Now that part was tricky. That part took me a lot to get down, and unfortunately that is not actually the hardest part of this mission, so let's jump on to see what else this throws at us.
Sword 2-1, waypoint 9. Buck, you up?
Copy lead. Sword 2-2 is up. Lead? All the SAMs just switched off at the same time.
Copy 2. I have a bad feeling about this. Watch for enemy fighters. Switch magic on uniform. Magic, Sword 2-1, request picture.
Sword 2-1, magic, one group full, 14940, Angel 5, flanking northeast.
Copy magic, Sword 2-1 out. Sword lead, Sword 2-1.
Go ahead, Forrest.
Lead, Magic has a group of bogies low down and heading northeast, possibly heading out from the vicinity of Tha'ala Air Base. We just saw all of the SAMs shut off as well.
Forrest, we saw the same. Syrians might be attempting to cut off your egress route to the east. Recommend you drag them east if you can. We'll turn north from the border, come in behind to back you up.
Copy lead, confirm ROE.
Weapons tight. Engage only if targets are confirmed as Syria. There's still Russians in the area.
Copy all lead. Bug, echelon left, 1 mile spread. Let's pull the bogies east if we can. If they get too close, we'll turn in for a possible engagement.
Nails, 29.
Lead, sword 2. Nails 29. Looking at either a fulcrum or a flanker here.
Sword 2, Magic, bogey is bold. 131 for 43. Angels 5, flanking northeast.
So this is the part that got me killed countless times. This is a very, very hard fight.
Sword 1, bogies now. 10 miles of 10 hard on you.
Really just because of the ROE that we have to pretty much end up on top of these guys before we're allowed to fire.
Missile in the air, break.
Trying to get a lock on them, I found turning in early really helps.
Engaging.
This time I couldn't actually manage to get a lock, so this all went wrong rather quickly. They fire on me, so I immediately go evasive. As I turn around, here he is, right off my nose. Enter dogfight mode. Trying to
2-2, Fox 3.
get my missile round. Thankfully this time my wingman does fire, it's something that he often didn't do.
Sword 2-1, Fox
And
2.
I just happen to end up in a really good offensive posture here to whip off an AIM-9L
Splash 1,
and get the kill.
splash 2.
Both enemies go down really, really quick, and that is mission complete.
Copy, lead.
Sword 1, Sword 2 is Splash 2. We are RTB.
Copy, Forrest. Outstanding work, Sword 2. Sword 1 and Sword 3 are RTB.
Sentinel, Sword 2 is off mission and RTB. Primary target destroyed. We also had a run-in with 2 Syrian fulcrums, both splashed.
Copy, all Sword 2. Good RDB.
Okay, Bug. Within 60 miles of H4. Best check in with approach.
So yeah, I did finally manage to get that in the end. As I said, I think that took me about 10 attempts all in all. I got the first little pass down pretty well, pretty quickly. Did take some practice. I managed it on the first attempt, then failed it the next few attempts, but then got back into the practice of hitting it. It was just a case of keeping low during that approach, keeping low during the turn towards the target, and then while popping up, staying evasive while you align your target and staying evasive while lasing. It's also really important because those missiles or those ground-based AAA really do hurt, and all it takes is one hit to effectively take you out. Either scoring a kill or, as happened on one time, taking out the targeting pod. And using the paveways without a targeting pod is really, really, really hard. The real challenge was that air-to-air engagement at the end, with the ROE that you're not allowed to fire on them until they fire at you or until you visually ID them, which happens when you physically merge through them, means that it is really, really challenging. The main advantage here in the F-16 is you've got those nice AIM 120s, but you can't really use them if you're expecting to wait until they fire a Fox 2 at you before you can respond. And so I tried all sorts of different tactics. I tried staying high. Very often that would sort of work, but then they would end up normally killing me with the second plane. I tried in the end going down low so I could get a radar lock early, which is what I was trying to do there. Normally that at least meant that I could get a Fox 3 off if I fired it immediately as they fired their Fox 2. That worked pretty well. In this attempt that actually worked out in the end, you saw that that failed. I failed to actually get the radar lock on them as I was heading head in. I wasn't quite low enough, so the radar wasn't finding them against the ground. But then, just thankfully, I ended up in the right position there. So yeah, really, really hard mission all in all, kind of tearing my hair out towards the end of this, trying again and again. but managed to get there, and that's what counts. Now, on to the final mission, should be the next mission, and so I hope you're all looking forward to joining me there, and until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.